Well, it is Thursday night. This morning, I went to the river this morning. That was really tough. This is tough on me with the sun coming up over the trees, blazing into my camera, which the filter's screwed up in the damn thing. How long did that camera make it? Just a year, I think. And what else? Then those 4 people showed up downriver with a hound dog and another dog, and it's all the background sounds take my attention away. It makes things difficult. I start to lose my patience. Then I had what I thought was possibly an extra long email, and I started losing my patience there too. So here I am back at it. I'm totally grounded, got my shit together. And I'm going to do this right now. I just took Sarah and her daughter's boyfriend. We picked him up. He came over for the weekend, took him out for dinner, and ran into my favorite First Nations ladies of all time in the same restaurant. It was great. So I ended up staying and visiting with them. And tomorrow morning, well, by the time you guys are watching this, I will be with them and some other First Nation ladies at a presentation. They really wanted me to come meet these other ladies. I can't wait. I'm going to go in there and spend as much time as I can before I head back out to the coast. So that should be interesting and knowledge filled for me. Looking forward to that. Anyway, I'm going to get more voices heard, and it's very important. It's very important to me. What kind of an update can I give you on my puzzle, my own personal ride? My puzzle, I came to a conclusion quite some time ago of what I felt was truly going on, and what these people who we have been referring to them as Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and also we've picked up the common name, which is a lot older than our countries, what we call country here, Canada, USA. These people were referred to as the Sabe by the Ojibwe, long before anybody else came over here and discovered from the European countries, right, and elsewhere. So that name has really picked up speed as well, by choice of everyone who uses it. Nobody tells anybody what to do or what's right or wrong. You take from it what you will, what you need, or you leave it here, and that's about it. You can't get more neutral than that, right? And more easygoing and easy to get along with, and bounce knowledge back and forth off each other. I'm babbling. It's been a long day. Managed to get a whole bunch of Cameron sand, and it's funny, I shared a little bit of a short video on that too, because the aftermath, it looks delicious. And there's just something about canning your own food that feels really good. You want to share it. I'm going to take a little silly video of that and post it up. So that went down today as well. But anyway, get back to my puzzle. How do you do it? It's funny when you feel absolute confident with the knowledge you've gained and you want to pass it on to others. Now let them have a crack at it. But at the same time, when you already know that there is a lot of people out there who will not accept it at all costs, and they will fight against it, and they'll try to stop people from speaking that truth. They'll hammer on it to the point that they will go out of their way to annihilate people's lives by annihilating their careers and blocking them from having income and all sorts of other shit. It's real evil and nasty, and that's gone on when it comes to this topic a lot by some very dark players. A lot of those players are today still in front of the lens. Anyways, what it is. So I can't tell anyone anything. I cannot tell or dictate to anyone anything. All I can do is share with the people what I have learned, what I believe is truth, and believe me, I've been doing a lot of digging. A lot of digging. Here comes the Adventure Dog. I think. It's the goats. It's the damn goats. So anyways, it's hard when you have learned what you have learned, when you know what you know, and then you watch people who are interested in the same topic doing circles and doing what you believe is the absolute wrong thing. Then how do you do it? Because you care about people, you care about the truth, and it's painful to watch people doing the same thing or mimicking people where those people are, to me, doing the wrong thing, and they're going in a circle, and they're not escaping that circle, and they're engulfed in it. It's to the point where possibly their ego, or whatever it is, will not let them release from doing that same thing that's leading nowhere. It's frustrating to watch that, right, you guys? And a lot of you people out there who know what I'm talking about, I know you're shaking your head in agreement with me right now. And a lot of you are probably saying, screw them, just let them have at it. Which we do for the most part, but it's tough. It's tough because you know that they have had these facts thrown at them without asking for it. They are in a state of confusion. They want answers. And then as you learn more, you watch these people who want the same answers you do, but you watch them going down a road that leads to nowhere. And there's nothing you can do to swing them around. It's frustrating for me, and it's tough for me to figure out a recipe of delivery to deliver to those people in a neutral way, to politely and warmly and kindly, caringly show them somehow that they are barking up the wrong tree. Yeah, I might want to come over here. Maybe, just maybe come over here and entertain this for a minute and come and see. And they can't do it. It's frustrating. Anyway, I guess this is a bit of a babble, isn't it? Anyway, I'll share more later. I guess I'm just rambling and babbling because my puzzle is becoming real tight. There's a handful of missing pieces, and but my puzzle is the most complete it's ever been, and that's been happening the last handful of months. To the point now that I've heard from some other people who showed the exact same pattern that I've been focusing on, and it's been I've had a lot of confirmation in the past recent weeks, maybe a couple months. All right, so you can imagine what that's doing to my mind as I normally am an open book and I just spit shit out. I'll figure out the right way to do it, and in the meantime, we'll keep going and we'll keep listening to the people. And I can't stress enough that you need to listen to as many people as you can. That's the key. You have to listen to the people, as many as you can. And you have to take note. Now it's the dog. You have to take note of the patterns. No matter how outrageous they may sound to you, they are patterns. And there's no denying the patterns, right? Unless your mind can't accept it. Please listen to all these people. Look for the patterns, no matter how outrageous they may be, and focus on those patterns. Okay? And retain it. And then when the absolute truths are delivered to you, you'll be able to, hopefully, be able to better wrap your noggin around those truths and accept them. Alright? Is that a bit of a semi-Tony Robbins motivational speech? I don't know. Or maybe I sound like a complete idiot. Who knows? I guess I'll find out tomorrow, right? Now, moving along, getting back to what's important right now, right here, at this time, is the voices. And let's get some more heard. All right, here we go. Who do we got? Mark, this is Brad. This is titled. This is titled, Don't Share My Name. Okay, I got you. Sasquatch being stole my passion from me. Hi Steve, my name is Bob. This story is 40 years old. I'm 64 years old now and a retired fireman paramedic. I've always considered myself to be stoic, no fear kind of guy. The story takes place when I was approximately 24 years old. I was an avid fisherman and hunter since the age of 18 here in Illinois. I hunted deer, whitetail, squirrel, and rabbit, and dove, you name it. I hunted and ate everything that I shot. I was married at 21, and he had an understanding wife who knew my passion for hunting and fishing. Okay, hold on a minute. I was married at 21 and had an understanding wife who knew my passion for hunting and fishing. Every weekend without fail, I would leave my house at about 3 a.m. to go to my favorite spot for all the game I hunted. It was a large hunting area, about 3,000 acres, backed up by a state park, and I had a religious routine which I followed every weekend. I left my house super early, 3 a.m., would take the interstate about an hour and 15 minutes from my home, would stop at Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge for breakfast, pancakes, eggs, sausage, and a thermos of coffee for the road. I would arrive about 4:30 a.m. at the preserve, still way before the sun would come up. Take my thermos, stick it in a small backpack, and head into the woods. This particular Saturday, I was squirrel hunting. The preserve had well-defined trails that were about 500 feet apart. I would walk off the main trail into the woods about 25 yards and sit up against a tree. Take my thermos of coffee out, still in the dark, get comfortable, lean up against the tree, and wait for light to trickle through the woods. Enough so that I could see the gray squirrels jumping from limb to limb. It was the end of September, beginning of October. The air was crisp and cool. I'd lit a smoke, kicked back and relaxed after all the smoke wouldn't give me away. It was just gray squirrels. I took with me my 12-gauge Winchester pump shotgun, a vest full of number 6 shot shells, perfect for small game. I always carried a .38 Special snub-nosed pistol in case, peace of mind, and kept it inside a holster inside of my camo overalls. The cover was a mix of old pines, oak trees, and willows, and about 4 foot high of just scrub grass throughout all the woods, so at times it could be hard going for a walk between the trees. And there I sat, waiting for daybreak to trickle through the limbs of the trees so I could see the outline of the squirrels jumping from limb to limb. Daybreak was getting lighter and lighter. Just light enough to see a squirrel creeping along the limb of a large oak tree. I raised my 12-gauge and fired, knocking the squirrel down very easily. Still dark from my sitting position, in the woods, a huge black figure stood up slowly, about 15 yards in front of me next to the oak. My mind wasn't registering the outline of the figure. It was sitting in a semi-squatted position next to the tree, with its back to me. It was totally invisible. With its very black, dark hair, it wasn't fur. It was long hair that draped from its wrists. It had no neck, just a square, squat, conical head. And almost, it must have stood over 9 feet. It turned side profile to me. Its chest had to be at least 4 or more feet across. I couldn't see it below the waist end. It turned to look at me. I couldn't make out the features of its face, but I could see that the mouth was turned up from side to side, and could see the outline of very flat teeth, no canines. It let out a very low grumble which shook me to my core. I could feel the vibration from my neck to my chest. My heart was racing. I could feel it in my whole upper body, and my face and temples were vibrating. I had no inclination to fire on it. I'm guessing 6 shot would have bounced off it like gravel. I was so frozen with fear, I didn't even think that it would be prudent to reach into my overalls and pulled out the .38, even with plus P hollow point rounds. It took everything I had to not soil myself. There's missing punctuation, okay guys, so bear with me. We're getting it. It moved off quickly, almost disappeared in a blink of an eye. What are you doing for people? What you are doing out here for people is incredible. I've never uttered a word of the story to anyone. In fact, I just got the courage from listening to your listeners talk about their experiences that I told my 25-year-old son about my story. He thinks it was some type of cryptic, but doesn't believe in Bigfoot. And I didn't push anything about it any further. About this event. I always took him out into the range shooting, but never set foot in the woods ever again. I absolutely hate myself for it. Like I said, I consider myself to be fearless and would crawl into a fire or rescue someone without hesitation. I can never bring myself to tell my fire partner or any of the other firemen the story, for fear of ridicule or being told that I was crazy. I still would like one more chance to prove to myself that I could return to hunting before I die, or I'll never forgive myself. My name is blank blank, and I would ask that you don't release my name. I want to find some way to make my life right again. Thanks to you for all you do. Without you, I would have taken this story to my grave. If you ever need to contact me, my number is. P.S. There's more to the story, but I don't want to be a windbag. Okay, man, you're not a windbag, and I wish you shared the rest of it, and if you would email me back with the rest, I'd appreciate it, because I want to hear it. And if I were near, I would go hunting with you in a frickin' second if I could. If we were nearby, or had the time, I'd fly my ass out there and go into the woods with you. I really seriously would. So hopefully, I don't know when you sent that, because I think I'm into my older list of emails here. And there you go, another member of the Club or No Return that had a very bad reaction, and it ruined and stole a whole pile of life from him. That is bullshit. Right? That's why we're here. Thanks for sending that in, man. And you know what? In the future, if you want, share this video with all those people that you think you may be nervous of ridicule from. Share it with them. My Son and Sasquatch, the title of this email. Hi, Steve. I hope this email finds you and yours in good health. Sorry to hear about macaroni, brother. Losing a great friend always sucks. Thanks for the kind words. I'm guessing this is a while back. Here's my story in 2 parts. It's 2 parts because I finally put 2 and 2 together. A little on my background. I grew up hunting and trapping with my father, so I learned very young about being in the woods. I spent most of my life hunting, trapping, and fishing, minus my time in the military. It was 28 years ago in early August. My 4-year-old son and I went scouting game trails, and I was teaching him to track. We had been out most of the day without incident when sometime early afternoon I caught a whiff of something very foul smelling. I at first thought it was a stank-ass bear, so I kept my boy very close to me. This went on for about an hour, where I would smell it and then not. I got this strange feeling when every hair on my body went rigid. I caught movement on my left side and stopped and watched, frozen by choice. Watching intently at the mass, about 100 yards away in the thick firs. It didn't move. It would only move when we did. I normally never went into the woods without a weapon while scouting. All I had was my custom-made bowie with a 12-inch blade. We started back to the house, and then this thought came into my mind that said, "Give me the child." Holy shit. My blood went ice cold, and I thought back to whatever the hell this was over my dead body MFer. This sounds familiar. We may have read this back in the day. I'm a formidable man at 6'2", 265 and solid. I knew all I had was my knife, but it was going to be what it is if that, whatever it was, came after my son. There was a huge sugar pine blowdown, and I sent my son to the very top of it. I went up about 10 feet to get a better look at my surroundings and vantage points for a defense or attack. I remember thinking, come and get it, asshole. We stayed there for roughly half an hour. Then slowly made our way back to the house. I caught glimpses of something which I shrugged off as a hungry bear stalking us because of my son. We made it back to the homestead, and I never said anything to my wife about what had taken place, and I never mentioned it to my son again after that day. Fast forward 6 months, it was about 8 p.m. I went out to start the generator. We had been homesteading 2 years on the backside of 40 acres in Garland, Maine, without incident. I had cleared an acre behind the house to the wood line for the solar array that I was going to purchase in the spring. There was a 4-inch crust on top of a 2-foot snowpack. Even at my size, I could run across it without breaking through. I lifted the cover on the generator and choked it. I gave it a pull. I heard a crunch in the tree line, 60 or 70 yards to my right. There was some moonlight, just enough so that you could make out basic stuff. I looked for a couple minutes and blew it off as a moose or a big deer. I leaned over to pull the generator cord again, and I heard a crunch, crunch. This was no moose or a deer or any animal that I could figure. I looked again at the tree line to my right, but couldn't make anything out. On guard now, I went to lean forward and heard the crunch, crunch, and looked up and seen this massive figure coming right at me. It was 10 yards from the door. I was 10 yards from the door, and I hauled ass. I cleared 4 steps, and there's a thin layer of ice on the porch, and as I went through the storm door, opened my right leg, went under it, raking up the entire shin. I remember turning as I grabbed the doorknob and looking over my left shoulder and our eyes locked. It was only a brief second, but I remember it like it was yesterday. From the rafter tails on the house, it was 9 feet from the ground. He was massive. The top of his shoulder was level with the rafter tails. My guess is he was easily 10 feet tall. If I had to guess, he's in the neighborhood of 800 to 900 pounds. As I clawed my way into the house, my fear immediately turned to anger. I looked up at my wife and kids, and she had a look on her face like I had lost my mind. I definitely felt he was a threat, and I thought to myself, I'm going to kill you. I grabbed the .30-06, leaning near the door, racking the bolt, and driving one into the chamber. Having no fear for my own safety, I went back to my time in combat and knew what had to be done. Out the door I went with every intention of eliminating this threat, but there was nothing. I scouted the perimeter, and nothing. I went inside, and my wife asked me what the hell is going on. I explained to her what I had seen, what had happened. She thought it was just a bear, but bears aren't that big here, and they were in hibernation. The next morning I took her and the kids outside at the back of the house, and where this thing I know now was Sasquatch had come from. The strides he made were massive, easily 9 foot, and he covered 60 or 70 yards in the time it took me to cover 10. Massive and extremely agile. After that I took the kids to the bus stop armed to the teeth. 50 cal handgun on my side and .30-06. I rented a house in Bangor, Maine, and got my family the hell out of there. It was about a year later when I was sitting in a stand hunting. I had remembered the time I smelled that foul smell, and the words put into my head, the words put into my thoughts, "Give me the child," came back. To this day I still believe the two encounters were the same being. I know and believe full well they are no effing ape, despite what the mainstream asswipe Sasquatch so-called experts say. They are far more advanced than we are in thought, strength, speed, and ability to move through time without being noticed. There were no tracks leading away from the house, just the ones when he came for me. I never shared this story with anyone but my mother, and she agreed. I have never shared this story with anyone but my mother, and she agreed they were out there. I honestly don't give a shit if anyone believes me. I know what happened and what I saw. Sorry this is so long, Steve. I tried to get as much of the story in there as I could. I know you get thousands of emails, and if this makes it to the channel, great. If it doesn't, at least I got it off my chest. Feel free to use my name, Steve. I love the hunt stories. Keep them coming. Sincerely, Carl Weeks. Carl, absolutely appreciate you sharing that with us. And you don't have to worry about what anybody thinks here, I'll tell you what. So, there you go. Take from that what you will, you guys, but make sure if you're sincerely trying to learn and gain answers, it's hot in here. There's a pattern in there, and it's a pattern for you to figure out. None of us can be told, right? You can't be told what to think or what to accept. You need to look for patterns yourself, jot them down, take note, and don't stop jotting them down and taking notes, all right? And learn from what you're listening from the people. Learn from it. There's a big pattern in here that sounds unbelievable, but it's a 100% in-your-face pattern from all around the world, and it is what you believe it to be, all right? Go with your gut. Keep learning. Take note of these patterns, all right? They're very, very important. And please, everyone, keep sharing your knowledge. Now, why isn't my frickin' phone charging? All right, who's next? Steve. I watch your show regularly and find it very interesting and informative. I'll relate a couple of experiences that I've had. I'm now a senior. I hunted and fished with my father since the age of 12. He's no longer here on this earth, but I continue to enjoy hunting and the outdoors. One incident. When I was in my 20s, I was hunting on my father's 2,000-acre lease. It was very swampy with thick brush. There was one spot extremely thick, about 6 acres, that I never had the courage to go into. I tried to hunt that spot several times, but on each occasion I suddenly, unexpectedly, had a feeling of imminent danger and disaster that just stopped me in my tracks. At the time, I was carrying a pistol and a 12-gauge pump Winchester shotgun loaded with buckshot and slugs. I just knew, however, that would not be enough firepower to keep whatever was in that small patch of swamp from tearing me limb from limb. I never saw or heard anything, but I just knew it was there. Another more recent experience comes to mind. About 7 years ago, I was walking out of the swamp, different location, as it was getting dark. As I was returning to my Jeep, I came to about a 150-yard section of the path that was extremely thick with brush and vines. About halfway through that part of the path, I became aware that something was walking right along with me. It was 7 or 8 feet to my left. Let me read that again. It was 7 or 8 feet to my left. That's 2 paces. On the other side, of very thick vines. There was just enough ambient light for me to make out part of the rear end. The top of the back I could make out was about 4 feet high, and the back, hips, and legs seemed to be angled, slightly higher than the shoulders. It had short, not long, hair or fur. I couldn't make out a color until I noticed it. There was no feeling of fear of being hunted, no premonition of danger. When I did notice it, however, I got so scared I almost wet my pants as the unknown one, and I got to the open field at the end of the path. I levered around into the .308 I was carrying and prepared to defend myself. I never got a clear view of what it was. There was no odor. It walked and stopped when I did. It never came out into the open. So I have not, at this point, had eye-to-eye contact with an unknown species, but I know that they do exist and are out there with us in the woods. Another memory of hunting with my dad in the swamp. We're leaving the land at near dark after a day of hunting in the swamp. A local farmer who lived near the main dirt road where we turned in saw us and motioned for us to pull over to the fence line where he was working. We stopped and got into a friendly conversation with him. He told us we were doing the smart thing, leaving before it got fully dark. He said he had been living there for over 40 years and that his family had seen and heard things moving around and screaming after dark in the swamp. They were not human beings or animals that they recognized. We shook his hand and thanked him, and we never again hunted in that part of the swamp. That is the same area that I had the sense of foreboding that stopped me from entering further. Thanks for hearing my story, Joe L. Thanks for sharing your story, Joe. There you go. See any patterns in that one, you guys? Any patterns? What's being shared with you from these kind, generous people? Focus on the patterns, all right? Here's another one. First of all, I want to thank you for what you're doing. It is wonderful, and I have 2 stories. Number 1, in December 2007, I was a junior in college at the University of the South in Sewanee, Tennessee. It was early exams week, and I had been studying like crazy. I just left the library and headed back to my dorm room at about 11 p.m. and I ran into my roommate who I hadn't seen in several days. We were good friends, and we were really wired from studying all day, so we decided to go buy some beer and drive down to this farmer's field to do some donuts in my roommate's Toyota 4Runner. We buy the beer and then drive to the field. Now, to explain exactly where we were is important. The university we were attending owns a domain of 11,000 acres, and this sits on top of a very flat mountain of only several hundred feet in elevation. Surrounding this mountain, or high plateau, is nothing but rural farmland, and the university itself only has a student population of about 2,500 people. So, the area is sparsely populated. There are a lot of cliffs and caves in this area. Rock climbing and spelunking are very popular in this area. So, we buy the beer and then we drive down into the valley below, descending off the mountain down the very steep road of hairpin turns and switchbacks. We get to the field, do some donuts, drink some beer, then we start to head back up the mountain. As we come around one of the hairpin turns in the road, our headlights sweep over a Bigfoot. There it is in the road. Head, no neck, really wide shoulders, thick legs, hairy. It quickly steps out of the road, but is staring right at us. It effortlessly stepped out of the road and got behind a tree and did the head poke around the tree as our lights passed over it. This happened very, very quickly. I say nothing. My roommate says nothing. We drive in total silence for a moment, and I finally say to my roommate, "Did you see that?" He said, "Yes, I saw it, and I don't want to talk about it." Another pattern. My roommate to this day really does not like to talk about what we saw, but he was in town earlier this summer and we talked about it. I've told many people this story, and obviously no one believes me. They say, "Oh well, you already admitted you were drinking, so you're just drunk, blah 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 blah." Yeah, because beer makes you see tall, hairy, naked guys all the time, right? I've told my first cousin the story many times, and this summer when my roommate came to town, I had my cousin ask him about it. Without hesitation, my roommate described what we saw exactly as I described it to my cousin, without hesitation. After my roommate left town, I asked my cousin what he thought about what my roommate had told him. And my cousin completely denied ever speaking with my roommate. Pathetic. Are you serious? That is so... It's so bizarre to me. What the hell? I'm an avid bear hunter, deer hunter, turkey hunter, etc. I was born and live on a 1,400-acre farm. I spend all my time in the woods. I know what a bear looks like when it stands on two legs, and yes, I've seen black bears walk on two legs. I know what I saw, and it was not a bear. Number 2, in the summer of 2018, I was at my friend's house one night. We were just hanging out on the porch, grilling burgers. And this is in Marietta, South Carolina. It's around 11 p.m. I start hearing Bigfoot howls. I've never heard a noise like this before in my life, nor have I since. The dogs started to whimper, and the cicadas and crickets even went quiet. This is in rural South Carolina. The noise was frightening and bone-chilling. Deep, long howls and woofs. Yet, strangely enough, if you are not paying attention, you would not have heard it. I'm not sure if that makes sense. It's like it was on a noise level of its own. It made my friend start listening, and it scared him so bad, he made us go in the house and lock the door. This is my first Bigfoot experience in South Carolina. And I got on the blank website and was looking around South Carolina, and no shit if someone did not have the same damn story I did from a place only about a mile away, but from the summer of '85, and here's that story cut and pasted. Alright. 85 or 86, summer, July, Greenville County, South Carolina. Highway 11, that's an old settlement road. Don't know the address, but it was the first house on the left of Highway 11, off Highway 11. Nearest town, Marietta, old settlement road. It happened back in 85 or 86, I'm not really sure. It happened so long ago. It was on a Friday after school. I went to my friend's house for the weekend. They moved down from Ohio. We were real good friends, so on Friday night we were watching about Bigfoot on TV. You know, about the Patterson film and the other known sightings and how he or she screams. I got goosebumps from watching it on Saturday night about 8:30 p.m. It was the summer, so we had the doors open and we were watching TV, and all of a sudden we heard this high-pitched scream. So we listened again because we thought we were hearing things. Then it goes again. So we walk outside, sat at the picnic table, and we heard it again. So we just sat there. I just could not believe it. All of us had goosebumps. So his dad went inside and grabbed a flashlight and his gun, a .22, to be on the safe side. He came out and all three of us started walking down the road into the field, about 300 yards from the house. At the same time, we kept hearing this thing screaming. 1 minute high and the next minute low. I think we're all scared. So we walked near the river, and his dad shined the flashlight into the brush, and there staring at us were these red eyes. We heard tree limbs breaking, so we took off running back to the house because we weren't standing around to see what it really was. So we got back at the house, and his mom asked, "What did we see?" And we told her we saw these red eyes staring at us. We all had goosebumps talking about it. I just couldn't believe it. So we heard the screaming for about 3 to 4 hours after we saw the red eyes. The next morning we were still talking about it. So around 12 noon, we walked back over to see if any tracks was around. We saw this grapevine, I would say it was about 5 or 7 inches around. It was just snapped in two like it was nothing. And there were bark torn off the tree at least 8 to 9 feet tall, and the ground was torn up as well. And we could make out a footprint, just the back of it, heel, about 9 or 10 inches wide and about 2 inches deep. We just could not believe it. And we talk about all that day, and still to this day I still get goosebumps and the hair raises up in my arms. I do believe Bigfoot is around somewhere. We've not seen it or heard it again. They also smelt an odor like a goat or something. There are 4 of them watching TV. Is in a field that farmers use their crops, wooded area, and thick brush with a nearby river. Alright, there you go. There's another one, right? There's a couple in the same area. More members of the Club of No Return enter here. Excuse me. It's endless. Alright. I'm going to read another one. I'm going to close up and I'm going to head around and go to bed. First time I ever told this is the title of this email. Dear Steve, I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of your best friend, Mac. Any animal lover knows the pain. My best friend is an 8-pound service dog, Samson, who can tell me I'm going to be sick before I know it. Samson saved my life many times, as I'm sure your buddy saved yours. This is honestly the first time I've ever told this story because my hero, my dad, told me to never mention this. But my dad passed away August 6, 2018. So it's time this story is told. Sorry to hear that news, man. I was 8 years old on a family camping trip. My dad was a gunsmith by trade and took probably hundreds of people on big game hunts, including me. My mother hates the outdoors and always has. For her, camping was a fancy fifth-wheel camper. I tell you this because it'll make sense in a bit. I'm 61 now, so this is a very long time ago. Having been schooled my entire life of the do's and don'ts in the wilderness, I was very relaxed about taking a short hike by myself. Dad knew when I left and where I was headed. Being very naive, I was a typical little girl skipping my way down a path. I noticed as I walked something that walked when I walked and stopped when I did in the brush off to my left. I wasn't frightened and honestly didn't think there was anything to fear. And suddenly, the path made a hairpin turn to the left with a huge amount of brush hiding what was keeping step with me. As I came around this blind curve, I was literally nose to knee with a huge black furry creature. As I screamed and turned to run, it did the very same in the opposite direction. I was too scared to figure out where it went. I felt like I flew into our camp screaming "bear" at the top of my lungs. Dad calmed me down and decided to take me back to the place where I ran into this bear to teach me that I had nothing to fear. When we got to the point where I'd walked headlong into this bear, my dad noticed the biggest footprints that he had ever seen. My dad became so frightened that he began to shake. My dad being frightened is what really shook me. I had to understand what I had so unexpectedly run into, but Dad did. He told me to never mention what had happened or Mom would never go camping again. As I grew up, I hunted big game with Dad every year, but that incident was never spoken about. If I started to ask about it, I would get that look from Dad, so I never have told anyone this story. Now that Dad has passed, it's time. Blessings for a wonderful hunting season. I so miss it. Best regards, Audrey Whitaker, PhD. Audrey, thank you so much for your generous time. Your generosity in sharing your time with us here. We appreciate that. Dad knew it was up. Dad didn't want to acknowledge it and talk about it, right? So many people in the past and present don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. Don't make me talk about it. Don't make me remember it. Make it go away. I wish it didn't happen. I didn't want to see it. It's not real. Must have been a bear. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be friends with you anymore because you remind me of it. Right? Goes on and on. But anyway, in closing, I will say this, that I firmly believe for me and my ride that in the very beginning of what can be considered, we'll just talk about here right now, right? Our history here. In the very, very beginning, before this was ever called Canada or the United States or even called North America, the people that came here should have listened to all of the First Nations people that were living here before they got here. They should have listened to them because they know, they knew, and they know, and they still know today the truth about these beings and more, right? But look what the, I don't know what you want to call it, the dirty dark pricks, the system, the government, whatever you want to call them, look what they did to the native peoples of most of the continents, right? The ones they couldn't tame in a way or break in a way, they annihilated them, right? That's what they do. They annihilate the people who don't need them and who also possibly possess the truth. Maybe. I don't know. Just a little bit of a theory, right? Aside from all that, from what I know now, from what many of us know now, we should have listened to the First Nations people from the beginning when it comes to this topic. Probably much, much more. But right now, we'll keep it to this topic right now. So, you want the answers? Do you want to learn? Obviously, I'm a broken record right now. You got to listen to each one of us. You have to listen to each other and keep listening no matter what, no matter how crazy you feel it may sound. You better listen. Don't throw up a wall. Don't block it. You better listen. All right? Listen to the people. Look for the patterns, go with your gut instincts, and try to override your fear. All right? Try to override your fear. Nothing is the way we have been taught. Nothing. Nothing. So there, I'm going to close off on that. I hope I'm not too annoying lately, but whatever. Whatever, there's a lot of truth out there. There's a lot of truth. A lot of truth has come here. A lot. A lot. And it's ultimately going to be up to you to learn through your instincts. It's going to be up to you to accept the fact and the truth, all right? It has been presented already. Trust me, it has, okay? And always keep in mind that there is a large group who does not want you to accept the truth, okay? There's a large group, a huge, massive effort put forth to try to persuade you to not find out truth. All right? Keep that in mind always and go with your guts. Listen to your insides and get in tune with yourself and listen to the people. I'm a broken frickin' record. I know it. I strongly believe what I'm sharing right now is very, very important. All right? There we go. End of a day. I hope everybody wakes up alive tomorrow and has another beautiful, great, awesome day on this planet. Share my story at howtohunt.com, and that's where you can get your knowledge shared, your experience shared, your truth shared, word for word. You are safe here, all right? I'll be back.